want to forfeit?
Yeah, yeah.
You are a son of a
Un saluto a
Hey,
tutti.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the All Juve cast, all right? And it is match day, Lazio Juventus. There's been an insane amount of nonsense, all right, that we've had to deal with again in 2023, but here we are. And look who's back. We got Frankie back here. It's been way too long, brother. Full packed house in here, okay? So there you go. And yes, apologies for the delay in getting things kicked off. I will take 100% responsibility for that one, okay? My bad, everybody. My bad, everybody. And buona Pasqua a tutti, okay? Hope you guys had a good Friday and everything. And yeah, my fault. My fault. My fault. We're going to
you
say
didn't even
what's
blame
up.
me this time. My head's all buffed and everything.
Yeah, this time it didn't take them long, to get the look at these guys. And nobody had to do their hair today for the show. We're good. So it had to be me. It had to be
The
me
her-
that
the
made it
Herbst
late.
panel.
Is what it is, fellas. Hope you guys are excited to get ready for this one. Now that we can kind of leave some of the nonsense behind us, I do have to say something. Yesterday, you can't have because I know that it bothered some people, but number one, the battle between Nima and Beppe is between them. All right, I'm not gonna put words in Beppe's mouth, and if Nima's got issues with him, they can settle that. Whether or not the situation was out of context, right? That is irregardless, because what our purpose was to do is to have a take your fandom hat discussion off. You can't do that if it's all members of the AJC. Okay? Naturally, having somebody from Inter makes the most sense because they're in the thick of it. And if you've seen Nima and listened to his show, he has very much always been in the thick of it when it comes to racism. So that's the end of the discussion. I'm sorry if many of you feel like he shouldn't have been the guest because of what went down. But again, that is a battle between them. And I don't want to get into the was it out of context, was it not out of context discussion, because honestly, it ultimately doesn't matter, because yet again, we're taking away the attention from the racism itself, which is the main issue. I don't care about a battle between two people and who they're fans of and whatever. Racism. We had a discussion about racism. And yet again, it wants to be masked because of he said, she said, an out of context discussion. And we do the same thing on social media. And the whole purpose of that discussion was to see what people are doing on social media, which actually disgusted me for the entire week, because it was all about the fans and their clubs rather than what actually happened to Lukaku. And that's the end of the discussion. And that's my only announcement. That's my only thing I want to say about it. Just clear your mind of how you feel he went about on social media and all that nonsense, and actually listen to the discussion about racism and the ideas to make things better, because ultimately that's what has to happen. All right? And that's it. That's my only statement I want to make on that. Okay, now we're going to get rocking with the game here for Lazio and everything. And let's see what we got. We can go 7 points clear in second place with a win today. Let's get it. Let's go. Let's go. So Lazio taking advantage of AC Milan and Inter. Okay. And it's nice of them to hold the interim second place right now. Okay. Because we're going to get a nice little Easter gift, right? We're going to get the Easter gift, the points back, our rightful points back. We might not even need it anyways at the rate we're going and the way those teams are. We see another slip up yesterday. Salernitana 1-1. Candreva. Oh. Hey.
Empoli too.
Empoli too. Hey. I'm
Read the
saying it.
mind.
I'm just saying. We might not even need it. Might not even need it. Okay? But we'll see what happens. Ciao, AJC from Michael Razzo. Apex giving us credit on the stream yesterday. I appreciate it. Okay, listen to it and hearing everybody out, and I understand people that as Animesh, Animesh was fair about it because he simply does not like uh, Nima, to each his own, and he actually went in there, he still dropped a like and just said, "I'm gonna pass on this one because he doesn't like Nima," and that's fine too. That's fine too. I can't make anybody, like Nima, and we all know very well Nima's that guy. He walks this edge, but he believes firmly in his views
Hmm.
and he will challenge you and he will go at you. But to be honest, Omar, like when you watch his show, I think he does a good job of taking the Inter hat off when he on his show anyways, and from what I've seen. And when he covers everybody else, he's got some interesting views. Omar, you're probably best to discuss kind of how you see it too.
Yeah, look, Nima is a very smart guy. He's a very eloquent guy. He covers the entire league. He loves the league. He wants nothing more than for Italian football to succeed and all Italian football. It's not a Juve hate or anything. He is an Inter fan. All of us are fans. We can relate to the feeling that is loving a football club and not loving, the competition. I guess it would have been the same if it was a Juve fan on an Inter podcast. I'm just glad we're back to talking about football and we
Yeah.
don't have to talk about what's ruining football.
I do like this comment though. Racism aside, he's a Juve. I don't think I could pull an Inter fan that isn't a Juve hater. That is normal for this rivalry. Like, I'm not gonna. If you guys want me to find an Inter fan that loves Juventus, I will never bring you an Inter fan on the show. And if
No.
that's what you want, that's fine too. But you'll never do it. I go on Inter shows. Me and Anthony Priv get along fantastically, and so do I and Nima. But I hate Inter, and I go on his show, and I still present by like I'm biased, whatever. And I guarantee you, when Anthony comes and joins us, despite the fact that he hates Juventus, he's still not a homer for Inter and whatnot. But to be honest, you're never gonna get rid of this hatred between the two sides. We laugh and joke about it. I've been on his show several times, and I always say, "Oh yeah, like." In a perfect world, your players get this virus or something and just can't play for the day, and we just get the automatic win, and maybe you guys all falter. Like we always joke around, like we just don't like each other's teams, and that'll never change. We hate each other's
Hmm.
team. That's normal.
Even more, even more.
Yeah,
Even
My
more.
best friend growing up was an Inter fan, and some of my best memories is sitting with him watching Inter Juve and the banter between us. In the living room. It's part of football. You can love someone and not like their football club.
yeah,
You,
yeah.
you
But
know, I think I'm really peculiar in this manner. My friends were never Serie A fans, so I didn't have that rivalry with an Inter fan. Never. Usually, it went with Spanish teams because here in Puerto Rico, they love Madrid, they love Barcelona, they love the Atlético de Madrid, even the Premier League teams. So I have to say I don't have in that hate, particularly against Inter, because I never had that foe. But you want to beat them, so I'm very competitive. I'm more on the sense that there are the guys that want to beat us. They don't like us, so I don't like you. But I don't have that. I didn't have that friend that told me, "Ah, your team sucks," just because you are Juventus. Never, never. So that in my case, I'm different in that matter, bro. I still want to beat them, always,
yeah,
always.
yeah. And again, now I could see in the chat everybody is going on like on the clip again, the 20-second clip. We can't. I don't want to get into that, everybody. I will not. And again, that is not our it's not our fight to fight. And I don't want to say something that's gonna get everybody more fired up and whatnot, but we can respect who we want, we can like who we want, and maybe that influences certain decisions a bit, you know, whether it's in context, out of context, or whatnot. Listen. I'm staying away from that. It's not for me. And Beppe can talk about it, and he can do his thing about it. We're not getting into that. Not getting into that. Lazio, Juventus. Get back to the football. All right? Back to the football. We got some news today in terms of lineups and everything, and we will talk about that and everything and get into it. Lazio, obviously, as mentioned, second place. Okay, they're looking to stay in top four. It's looking pretty good the way other clubs are dropping points and whatnot. Juve is in good shape heading into these things. Okay. Lazio's going to have a little bit of a boost. Marcic, Immobile back and whatnot. When we've played them earlier on, we've actually been able to handle them quite comfortably in terms of just neutralizing them and essentially making them rather toothless, right? So it's good for that. I'm pretty confident in this game. The one thing Lazio has had this season that has actually been able to propel them to that type of position and whatnot is the fact that they've only allowed 19 goals in their 28 matches and stuff. Also something that's rather surprising, number one, because of Sarri, but number two, even if you're looking at the players that they have at the back, they've actually been able to hold things down defensively and do a rather good job. Okay. Yeah, this can be interesting for them as far as lineup goes. Nothing ever changes with Sarri. 4-3-3 all the time, straight through. You're going to get Provedel, Hisaj, Casale, Romagnoli, Marusic, Milinkovic, Savic, Cataldi, Luis Alberto, Anderson, Immobile, and Zaccani. So Immobile should be that piece that we always know at club level. He is strong and whatnot, and he does extremely well for Lazio. He will be crucial to help bring in Anderson and Zaccani into this game and everything like that. Milinkovic Savic, the last time we've had to face them, was used in a little bit different manner by Sarri, and it seemed like he just can't seem to make it work. But frustration has been setting in with Lazio fans on Sergei Milinkovic-Savic for quite some time now, and it doesn't change. They've wanted much more, and I think maybe they're starting to see a little bit of maybe an issue and a drop-off in terms of his future, where he wants to go. I don't know. You don't think so, Omer? So let's talk about Sergei Milinkovic-Savic and the frustration that Lazio fans are having with his performances.
I think it's the fact that it's sinking into their brain that he's not renewing and he is going to leave, and automatically when you know a player is not staying, you start to have different feelings towards him. I think that's the case. If you look at the stats, he's still their best midfielder. So not a lot of reasons to hate him on the pitch. And yes, he had bad games. Juve always find a way to neutralize him. But it doesn't mean he's been bad for Lazio. I mean, when I watch their games, I don't see any drop off in his intensity and his will and the way he wants Lazio to win. He gives it all every game. So, from a purely my point of view, I don't see why. It's mainly because he's leaving.
Yeah. Interesting. Do we all agree with that? That it's just the fans more or less getting ready for him to leave and now starting to turn a bias to him?
Yeah, I honestly, I 100% agree with Omar on that. I think it's just the fact that they look at him as like a standard bearer aside from Ciro Immobile, and the fact that he seems like he isn't renewing is what's making it frustrating. He's got 5 goals, 8 assists. He's putting in consistent performances. Sure, some are better than others, but on a whole, he's still the leader in that midfield. So, like, no problem with the sporting side of things. I think that it really is all down to the contract renewal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at Vidal. Look at Dybala,
Exactly.
Ronaldo.
Perfect examples.
Yeah, I completely agree, and also he's the leader, man. He's the leader of that team. He's the guy, and Lazio had a lot of time in which they were not a main character in the discussion, not even for top four. And the Milinkovic Savic was the guy that they could put in the discussion, and everybody will say, I have nothing to say about that. He's that good. And the fact that he's leaving, because I truly believe he's leaving, he won't stay with Lazio. I think it hurts. It hurts, and I fully understand the fans in that aspect. But I would not critique the sporting side of things because he's been great. I think he's been good for the team. Frankly, the derby against Roma, they win because he gets that second yellow, and that's the thing that manages to put Lazio over the top in that game. We all know that. So he's been good for the team. It, where he where he goes can also be important to think about what the Lazio fans will remember him. How the Lazio fans will remember him. If he goes to Juventus, believe me, Lazio fans will hate him. Believe
Yeah.
me. That's another discussion that we could have.
Yeah. I think I agree with all you. It's just it's that
Mm-hmm.
unavoidable fandom thing that kind of sets in and whatnot. But SMS, like just on him on another discussion, I said this a while ago because he did have an opportunity quite some time ago to leave and to do something. I thought he made a mistake staying at that time. Did you all feel that same way when he had that opportunity several years ago to make that leave, and there was a lot of interest in him back then? You think he did the right decision in staying, or did he falter by not leaving at that time, Frankie?
Well, it depends. Uh, I always thought that he wanted to leave at some point if in his career because he knew that Lazio had a ceiling in which he cannot surpass teams like Juventus, the Milan teams right now. When we speak about Europe, teams like PSG, Madrid, Lazio cannot compete at that level because economically they are not as strong. And also, let's be frank, the culture of that team is not that big in a European stage. But if he wanted to stay all along and be a last legend and say, I'm going to retire in this team, I have no problem because that's what you like, that's the club you love. And if that's their decision, like Totti did, that's great for you. I fully support players that don't want to go to another team or a bigger team because they love where they are. They enjoy their life there, and they believe that the values of that club represent them. That's fully respected.
Yeah,
But if you're gonna leave, or you know that you're gonna leave, then go. Don't stay because that now you are in this part of your career in which you are in your peak. You're gonna leave, but teams are not that fully interested in you because you are not as young as you were before, and that's
yeah,
the reality of sports. You want to leave if you're going to leave, and you know you're going to leave younger, leave sooner, and maybe have more time to put yourself in a good position in that new club. Don't wait until you're 28, 29 to make that jump because physically you're not going to be as good as you were when you were younger, and that's going to be a detractor for those big teams to sign you. That's all I
yeah.
have to
And Joe,
in
you
that.
were gonna speak on this and touch on this a bit, but I kind of agree with Frank and what he's saying. And now you see even just Anthony Trimpoli here saying basically, I really wanted SMS previously, but now I think it's time to move on. Omar and I guess we should go around the panel on this one. But are you in the same boat? Did you want SMS previously, and now maybe thinking move on, Joe?
No,
We'll start with Joe and then go
Omer.
around the horn here.
Oh, okay. All right, sure.
Did you
No,
want
I've always
SMS
wanted
and now you
SMS.
don't, or are you still on SMS?
I'm still on the SMS bandwagon here.
Okay.
Especially after seeing everything that's happened with Pogba. We probably could have avoided a lot of this by just signing SMS to begin with. He's a consistent performer, easily one of the best midfielders in the league year in, year out. if we're acting like the guy is on crutches, he's only 28. That's not. He's in the prime of his career right now, and he's still got a lot to give. It's not like he's going out to pasture yet. So that's just how I see it. I understand why he didn't leave Lazio when, like there seemed to be this enormous hype train of him, 100 million euros, all that stuff. This guy isn't that kind of, doesn't strike me as that kind of player. He hasn't had like social media until like last year, right? He just doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who's going to up and leave for a big money offer. So I get it. I get that perspective. I would still like him at Juve. I think that he would be a really good addition to the midfield. But right now, we just have so much talent in that department. There would be so much competition. I just don't see it happening in this moment.
But you would be for SMS coming in.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would still love it. Yeah.
Okay. Omar, are you still on the SMS train, or do you think the time has passed?
I think I'm in a great place. I think I'm right in the middle. Like, you know, come in, don't come in. I'll be happy with both because let's not kid ourselves. He is a class player. He's been a class player. People saying Rabiot is better. Yeah, this season. SMS is killing it for 5 seasons straight. He is a class player. Now, Lazio doesn't have like a history of keeping their best players. They're always being sold. And like Joe said, he's 28. It's funny because players last longer these days because of modern medicine, but we consider them old by 27 and consider their contracts. It's funny. I mean, look at when Nedved came to Juve from Lazio. He was 30. Fast forward to today, most people would say no to Nedved. They sold Veron, later Crespo, Nesta. They just don't keep hold of their stars. It doesn't mean they're finished, and they can give you a couple more years, 3, 4 years of SMS. I mean, 32, 33 is not old for a player today. So I'm good either way. If we get him, we get a class player and more competition in the midfield. If we don't, like Joe said, we have tons of talent, and I'm good with it. It's not a must, but it will be a great signing for Juve. And I don't want to be Juve's accountant and start, calculating salaries and price tags. If Juve can do it and they will do it, I will be happy.
Okay.
If not,
okay, so he's on
all
the
good.
fence. Frankie, SMS still on the train, or no? Time has passed.
No, for me, time's passed. For me, time's passed.
Ah.
And never because of the player, because you cannot critique him on the pitch. He's that good. He's that professional. I think a player like that always fits on your team. But you need to take into consideration the context in which Juventus is right now. Like you guys say, midfield is probably the area on the pitch in which we have more talent. And the reality of the situation with all the 15-point deduction, all the investigations, we're not monetarily speaking on a very solid position. We need to be meticulous in the way we approach the market.
Yeah.
We have a lot of young players in that midfield position. And we also have players that are not in Juventus that will come later. We already signed Pogba. So why go try to sign a player like SMS, which he's great, a spectacular player, but he is 28. He's going to demand a big contract. And we probably could use that money to get players in other positions. We need wingers. We need fullbacks. And we probably need central backs, central defenders. And we also got to start talking about that goalkeeper position, in which we're probably going to go for a guy like Carnesecchi, which I fully support. But why change the way we're approaching market when it's working good for us? It worked good in the midfield position. Let's try that in the winger positions, in the fullback positions. Let's try to get young players, because the reality of the situation is that we cannot compete with teams like Premier League or PSG or even Madrid or even Real Madrid. I won't say Barcelona because they are in a tough economical position right now, but maybe Barcelona. Those are teams that can just buy the guy and get that performance right now. We
Yeah.
need guys that we can buy who don't have gigantic salaries that we can just ease in our team. And even though SMS is a great player, spectacular player, I would much rather go for players, younger players, maybe lower salary players that can fit in different positions that we need right now. It's all about context. If we were a build a team that we already have what we needed in other positions and we just want to start, for all means, go for SMS. I don't have
Yeah.
any problem. But the reality of the situation is that we have many holes that we need to fill before we can start thinking about getting a star or this kind of player, because Juventus is not fully loaded yet. That's why I'm saying that I'm not on the wagon of SMS.
Yeah. I'm as a player, I'm on the fence. Like if he comes in, great. I think it actually opens up some options for us to, and I know a lot of fans don't want to talk about it, whatnot, and some see it as a demotion or whatnot, but I think it opens up a loan possibility for some more minutes for one player, Meretti, whatnot. Whether you see it as a demotion or not, but it gives us a little bit of freedom. The other thing is that Pogba, we just don't know what's going on. If his body has in fact let up, like SMS would naturally be the guy. So it is a scary thing to think about, but this Pogba thing, like who knows? Who knows if he can ever put in solid minutes and whatnot? That's a whole nother headache, right? Georg coming in here
Yeah,
saying
and
that we're going to have Arthur, Zakaria coming back as well. Not that they are issues, but it's going to be a headache. I think Zakaria will be, honestly, we'll find a club and we'll find a move for Zakaria. I don't have fear there. Arthur, we will also find a solution for him. It's just that it's going to be at a financial loss to Juventus, but we will find solutions, and they're just gonna have to bite the bullet on Artur. I've been saying this for a while. When people wanted him sold like a year after he can't come to us and whatnot, I said good luck because of what he's on the books for. So it was a great move at the time for us to see Pjanic out. We thought we were getting a lot more out of in a player from Artur. It didn't amount to much, but now that deal ended up biting us just because of the fact of the value we placed on Artur. We both know what both teams were doing there, okay? It's a bit of a loophole in the system and whatnot, but there's no actual rules being broken. But this is one of the ways it could go if a player's value all of a sudden drops and Juve is facing that full front. For SMS, as a player, I'm on the fence. I'm fine either way if we decide to. It's also an opportunity to get a guy that's in a prime at a reduced price that right now is a price that you get for a prospect. So that's another thing to think about in the grand scheme of things, because most of your prospects, highly sought after prospects in Serie A, 40 mil seems to be that threshold. We paid that for Kulishevsky. It was 40 mil. Bernardeschi before that, it was 40 mil. Like that's kind of that threshold. But now all of a sudden, if you're getting a guy that's been that consistent for this long in Serie A and is a strong player at 40 mil, I think you really have to kind of maybe look at it. And the other kicker is that Rabiot, more likely than not, is leaving. So while the young guys are doing good and whatnot, I think Fagioli is pretty much a lock. I think Miretti has a lot more that he can bring and give to us. But I really think it comes back to us and what we think about a guy like Miretti, about a guy like Barnechea and whatnot, because these guys might be good for loans. And then all of a sudden, the Sergei Milinkovic-Savic thing for 40 mil might change things a bit. But we do have other positions that we need to fill. We can't deny that. You know, center back is going to come up and definitely has to be addressed. Fullbacks, 1,000%. And Gatti, we didn't really get into this a whole lot, Omer and I, yesterday, but Gatti now all of a sudden starting to get a lot more minutes. Is Juve trying to take control back into their own hands with the Sandro automatic renewal? He's going to have to play today because Danilo finally needs a rest. Hey, it's okay. He's been an Iron Man. This is the first game he's going to be rested, everybody. So, hey, maybe, just maybe, we haven't quite hit. And the funny thing about the automatic renewal of Sandro is that nobody actually knows. Nobody actually really knows. We've heard reports it could be less than whatever the 30 games they believed it was. Oh, he might have already hit it. Nobody really knows. But would it not make more sense if they can't get Sandro to agree to split his salary up for 2 years, that they try to take it back into their own hands? I'm not saying that that's the reason and the sole reason, because Gatti, to his credit, has played very well these past few games that he's come in. Our last game, pretty much man of the match performance from Gatti, okay? Because we can't deny what he's been doing there. But I don't know, man. There's a lot of decisions to be made at Juve, and the Mercato is going to be a very, very interesting one. I ultimately don't think there's going to be potentially any splashes unless we have a big outgoing deal. Then maybe you'll have to. Maybe you'll have to. But even if we, let's say, had to sell one of our top assets in Vlahovic, if something were to go down or he wanted to leave, we might spread the money out. They might spread the money out and get a cheaper option at the attacking role. They might do that. We've heard a lot of rumors. Scamacca. Hoyland would bring a drop, but not big money by any means. So you just really don't know what's gonna happen. But yes, Gatti has stepped up. Credit to him. Animesh dropped the sticker, by the way, before when we started talking about Lazio. They stink sticker with ants emoji on there. That's great stuff. Everybody, we do have Super Chat enabled and now memberships. Animesh signing up. Thank you very, very much. So memberships are in play now if you go to the main YouTube page. So thank you again, Animesh. Gatti has stepped up big time. He is right. Gatti has stepped up big time.
100%.
But yeah, there's a lot of decisions to make at Juventus. A lot of decisions. This Milinkovic-Savic one, I don't think... it's funny because it faded for a while, and now it's back full force. So it's interesting to see how we all feel about it, but that's not going to change.
Let's not forget Pellegrini is also there, so that might be another bargaining chip in this deal.
Yeah,
True.
Pellegrini, despite the fact that I don't even know how little minutes he's got, but next to nothing since he's joined Lazio, whatnot, he wants to remain there, wants to stay. We know that he's that's his club. He spoke very highly when he joined there that he wants to be there and everything. Maybe, just maybe, that plays into it. But when you've got Lotito there, I don't really know, man. That guy is something else.
That guy is interesting, to say the least.
To say the least.
Yeah, in regards to what you were saying, we still have some questions about the guys coming in. I mean, if we're talking about defense, we can also see Connie de Winter and Dean Huijsen promoted, and maybe another free signing, and that settles it. Maybe we don't need someone in defense. So there are options. We have room to maneuver and try to play. We don't necessarily have to sign a 30, 40 million center back. We have stuff we can do. Cambiasso is part of the rotation. All the midfielders we've talked about nonstop. You will need to manage this Mercato smartly and maybe take their time, maybe start planning, which seems impossible without a general manager right now, sporting director, someone to oversee it. But we do have options even in-house, not just abroad.
And, I see comments from Delzer, 70 mil, too much for estimate. There's no way anybody's paying 70 mil when he's going into a final contract year. Lotito has it's
Yeah.
gone way too long. He had an
Yeah, we're
opportunity,
not.
I think, to get. There was nobody biting or chomping at the bit. So I think
Uh,
it's done there.
there's always the Paris Saint Germain option. They wanted to play 70 plus Skriniar, and Milan held their
Yeah.
ground, and now they're taking him for free. But
Yeah,
hard to see it happening.
yeah.
Oh, Hanin reminded me of another sort of monkey wrench that could get thrown into this too. Ravella scored today, and
Yeah.
First,
the Hive
first goal Serie
should
A.
be buzzing. I don't know if he's coming back. That seemed to be the plan for a very very long time to bring Ravella back. Not sure where that stands, but that
Rovella,
further complicates things.
Rovella, and the essentially he's gonna be returning. He's gonna come back in the summer. The thing with Rovella that's got some fans hit and miss is that he does get injured. What seems to be quite frequently. The last one was an ankle
Hmm.
injury, though a little bit of a knock. I don't take a whole lot into that. It's usually when guys continuously get muscular issues that I get kind of concerned and stuff, and a lot of tweaks here and there and whatnot. But taking a knock on an ankle is a lot different than constantly pulling up with muscular things. So I'm not at the point where I'm concerned. And I'm actually excited for Rovella, and I think he does get integrated next season. But let's go back to some of these comments here about Rabiot. Like, Rabiot's leaving. Do we need to necessarily directly address Rabiot leaving? Do we need to go all in and try and figure out his renewal, even at 10 mil? Or are we okay to skip on SMS, see Rabiot leave, and we can cover it with what we already own in terms of players, Rovella being one of them? So let's start with Frankie here. Do we have to make a move in midfielder? Can we maintain with everybody we currently have?
I wouldn't try to get Rabiot at all costs or try to replace him. I'm the boy that we're good in the midfield. I know I will sign. I I'm optimist, but I'll make you a list right now. We have, if Rabiot goes, let's say Rabiot goes, and Zakaria, we sell him. Arthur, we sell him. We still have Locatelli, and Paredes also will leave, without a doubt.
Yeah.
The Argentinian kid, sorry, I forget his name, Barinchea, something
Baranchea.
like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Barinchea. We have Barinchea, Locatelli. Like it or not, Pogba is in our books, and he frankly, if he gets healthy, he's our best midfielder. And what I saw, the little minutes that he played, and on that game that he debuted for us, he was our best midfielder, without a doubt. We got Pogba. We still also get Fagioli, Miretti. We already have 5 midfielders. Rovella is coming to Juventus. We have 6 midfielders. 6. I mean, if you want to bring another young guy who is not probably that big of a salary, you got 7 midfielders. 7. And that's saying that everybody is getting out. Zakaria, Rabiot, and Paredes, and Arthur also. So, are we truly needing that? Are we? We all always speak about trust the young guys, trust the young guys, trust the young guys. This is the perfect point in which we can trust the young guys. We have the guys to maybe try to build up a midfield from the ground up. We have the players, but we are constantly trying to just say our guys are not good enough because we're watching other players, and the reality is we need to trust them. I'm on the boat of saying we're good in the midfield. We have good enough players to perform. We are in a position in which we need to spread the money. Don't try to get the big splash on the mid when you already have a lot of midfielders. I know it's tempting to go and get another guy who's already proven. The only guy that I didn't saw in a bad way was when they were rumblings about McAllister from Brighton. which because I think he's a very versatile midfielder. He's a young player. He can fit the mold of Juventus. But other than that, I keep saying, stay with your players that you have. Don't waste that talent because many teams in Italy will give their arm to have that that many young talented players in their squad or coming for next season. We do have that opportunity. Don't buy just for buying. Try to manage what you have and try to spread the money in positions that you need, like fullbacks and wingers. That's where I'm at.
Now, if we're talking about this, so the list of midfielders you gave, Pogba's health, if we go based on this, can't be trusted. Let's say Locatelli goes down. Let's say we're in a crucial game next season. Are we perfectly fine with Barnechea, Miretti, and Fagioli then? In a clutch, crucial game, a European play game, are we completely comfortable with that?
No.
I am.
Joe, are
If
you comfortable with that?
Yeah, if those guys go out, if both guys go out, if both guys, then we have bad luck because we've been with Locatelli not being injured, and with a lot of game in a lot of games in which we have veteran players. Allegri shows the young guys also. He said, "To hell with the veterans. Let's go with young guys." He did it. He did it. Knowing how Allegri is, you know how Allegri is. Allegri is a manager that likes to give young guys time. And there were games in which he had veterans available, and he chose the young guys.
But if Pogba was fully fit, I think this midfield would have been Pogba, Locatelli, Rabiot.
Yeah, probably.
Probably, but I didn't like. Like that.
To be honest, out of all the young guys, the only guy that should be a lock in there, even if you bring in, like veterans, seasoned midfielders, is Fagioli. Rightfully so. He's like right on the cusp there, and that Pogba, Locatelli, Rabiot midfield is again can be argued and disputed that Fagioli should be in there for one of those positions, and it's anybody's preference as to what they want to do there. But Rabiot, we're essentially saying we don't need to replace him, which I don't necessarily agree with because of what he brings to the midfield. And we found like a massive difference in the balance in our midfield with what Rabiot brings as opposed to when he's not in there, with what Locatelli and Fagioli can do when Rabiot's in there, what Kostic can do when Rabiot's in there. If now I'm trusting Miretti, which I actually have been saying for a while now, I would send him on a season out loan. I would send him on a 1-season loan next season. And that's been I feel like a very unpopular opinion, but that's how I feel. Rabiot, if all of a sudden we went down and that was our midfield in a crucial European match, whatnot, I would be a little bit skeptical because I think a lot of our young guys, other than Barnechea, play very similarly. And it's you're losing something big that nobody else in this midfield really brings with Adrien Rabiot. So I would think it has to be addressed. I don't think we have in-house the ability to cover what he does. That's my only issue with the thing.
What's the guy that you would bring to replace Rabiot if he leaves?
That I don't really know. It depends what options are available to us, what price tags, who are these players. But I've got an unpopular opinion that I believe Zakaria, if used properly, could fulfill a bigger presence role in the midfield, to be honest.
Fully, I agree with you. But that's a guy you're not going to get buying outside. That's a guy that's coming back. Then let's not sell Zakaria. Let's say he stays. We need to replace Rabiot.
I would be okay not doing, but if you ask me my preference would be Rabiot over Zakaria.
All right. But if you ask me my preference, I would like Juventus to have 400 million to spend on the mercado, but we don't.
Omar,
Come
you're
on, we
coming in
don't.
here.
Yeah. Look, the reality is no young team compiled of only young player has ever made it. They need the seniority. They need the older guys. Real Madrid are still rocking Benzema and Luca Modric and Toni Kroos. I mean, it's beautiful on paper, but even look at the players who are our players of the season. This season, it's Kostic who's 30, it's Danilo who's 31 or 32, it's Di Maria who's 34, 35. Those are the guys. I mean, when you go into a difficult tie, you want some guys with experience. So in regards to SMS, what is to his credit is that he's been doing it for a while. He's almost never injured, and statistically, he's still the hardest working midfielder in the league. The most distance covered every match. He's in the top of the list in the league. So that's also something to consider. I mean, Pogba is phenomenal when he plays, but does he play ever? I mean, we can. Some of these guys are bets. Young guys are bets. We've seen so many guys that we thought were going to be great, and it turned out they weren't. They weren't up for it. They weren't good enough for the world class level. And going for someone like SMS is maybe more of a sure thing than banking on Miretti to reach that level.
Yeah.
And at the point Juve are right now, we need to balance it out. We can't have only young guys around.
Yeah. Joe?
I mean, Omar took the words right out of my mouth. If SMS is a completely viable option, go for it. I think that what you said earlier, Al, about 40 million being that threshold, especially for a guy like this, no one's going to be paying that, 100 million anymore, right? So we can negotiate. Lotito's a little bit of a hard negotiator in terms of contracts, and of course, there's always the Juve price, so it'll probably be a little bit higher. But if we need to replace someone like Rabiot, let's think of the qualities that Rabiot has. He's a big guy. He is an engine. Like he can just like cover the field. SMS has those qualities. He's also a big guy. He's like 6'1", something like that. And he can throw his body around, and he's a great dribbler. And like Omer said, he can cover every single blade of grass on the field, and he's rarely injured. So that to me is like, so
So like
like
for like.
perfect fit right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we might need to do some contract rearranging and stuff like that, and like going to Frankie's point, we do have a lot of players, coming in or coming out. We don't exactly know yet, so we need to get that ironed out first before we do something like this. But to me, that just seems like it makes sense. And
Yeah.
right now, it's now or never for SMS.
Yeah.
Become part of a bigger club.
The young players,
or no.
Houston and Yildiz, I still say everybody like maybe just wait and see. Far too soon to talk about that. But De Winter, okay, so Coney De Winter, we know that there was teams coming in January that were interested. There's going to be a lot of interest him in the summer. Do you bring him back to the club and keep him at all costs? Do you sell if a Premier League comes in? Because there are going to be Premier League teams. They're already buzzing around him and whatnot. Bring him into the team, sell him. If a good offer comes in,
Yeah, I would add something that who is it? Daniele Longo said that he did have offers from West Ham and Southampton. The offers were too low. Juve brushed them aside, and he still wants to prove himself for Belgium and for Juve before considering moving on. I mean, he wants to prove himself at Juve. He's young and he's taking the same route Fagioli took with the loan and everything. He's done his duties, and if there is a good time to bring him back, I think it's now and try to integrate
Mm-hmm.
him where we're low on players anyway, and some guys are leaving out of contract. I think that will be a good opportunity for him. But I don't think he is looking to move for bigger money just yet.
but even that though, because it's great to have all these young guys that want to stick around, that want to stay. But Sule might have done harm by not taking a loan. And
Maybe.
to be
Yeah.
honest, like, it's great that they want to stay. They want to be at Juve and everything like that. But Juve's got to look out for Juve. And if they can't be at the level we need or whatnot, and is Coney de Winter the profile we should get, or should we look higher? In my opinion, we need higher. We need that main guy next to Bremer. Can Gatti be that next guy in a two-man center back role? I actually believe possibly, potentially. But it comes down to confidence levels and stuff. But Coney de Winter, I think, is different. And I actually would have no problem bringing him back and integrate him. Does anybody oppose, or are we all in agreement we would bring him back next year?
First, I would like to clarify. I'm not at all against veterans in my team. You guys know that I've been defending Cuadrado a lot of times when he got hit. You know that I defended Danilo before it was popular to defend Danilo. I was one of the first guys that said he is very a guy that is playing good for us. And I'm not against having veterans. I truly believe veterans are integral for when you're building a team. I'm going back a moment to the midfield scene. I'm just saying, uh, if we got the players in house, don't go out just yet trying to buy a midfielder because we want to buy a midfielder just because SMS is available. Oh, go get him.
Yeah.
Try to evaluate the situation before you go out and get the Winter, because I know nobody wants to talk about it, but there are limits of what Juventus can buy. We cannot buy everything, and yes, he's gonna be in a lower salary or a lower quantity of money to buy him because of the contract situation, but it's still going to be a guy that demands money, a guy that will demand a lot of money because we're dealing with Lotito, and like it or not, there's that Juve tax that we always get. So
Yeah.
that's one thing. About the winter situation, right now in the defense, we cannot allow to we can't allow young players that can achieve a good level to go away. We can't. We simply can't. We're not that big in the defensive side of the team. We have holes in our defense, the fullback position. The Winter is a guy that can play a fullback position. I'm not saying it's gonna be great. I'm not saying he's Danny Alves in his prime, but he can play that role if needed. If needed. And we are also in a place that our center backs are not. We're not in a great position when we talk about center backs because yes, we have Danilo, perfect, but he plays a lot of times he plays fullback, and he's not a guy that consistently in a two-back defensive style. He's not the guy that you always want to play in the center position. He's more in a fullback. But you got Gatti, who has performed well. He's young still, and I truly believe he can be that center back for the future. Bremer also, but Bonucci is a veteran, and he's not a guy that is playing a lot of minutes. Rugani is still out there, but we all know what we think about Rugani. He's not an option that we trust. He's not.
Yeah.
And Alexandro sometimes plays center back, but that should not be his position. So maybe hold on the Winter, because I think he's a guy that can play minutes, and that will help us a lot if we go to Europe, which I fully think we're going to play in Europe next year. That's a guy that's going to get minutes, that can develop, and frankly, he can benefit from playing with guys like Bremer, getting to learn from a guy like Bonucci also. So that's something that I can help him.
Yeah, I hear you. And Deventer, I think we're all going to be fine with bringing him in if that's the case and that's what they want to do. Ultimately, we all kind of agree like Juve's going to have to be very methodical this Mercado, bottom line. And the circumstances surrounding them and whatnot might not even all be cleared up by this Mercado. Everybody has to be reminded of that we might have these investigations and certain cases carrying on beyond that. So that's another one that we have to just keep in mind, right? We're gonna get back to the Lazio game and talk about Juventus and everything. We know where we stand. Pogba is essentially the only one hasn't made the team list. Okay, we're gonna get to Lazio key stats. Only conceded 19 goals in Serie A. They actually have the most clean sheets in Serie A, with 17 in league play. A win on today will be Juve's 100th victory over Lazio in all competitions out of 190 outings. Okay. And I'm confident we're getting it. All right. Juve and Salernitana are the only two sides to score 3 or more goals against Lazio this season. Interesting to see Salernitana in there as the other side, but there you go. The only two teams to bury 3 or more against them. And Lazio has failed to beat Juve in their last 7 meetings across all competitions. All right. And Animesh again in the live chat with the they stink emoji there. Absolutely love it. Let's go. Prediction times. Okay. We're going to get to predictions. Then we're going to open up Storm the Barn for more questions. Okay. But we're going to kick things off with Joe. You know the drill. Okay. Frankie knows the drill. Final score, 2 tiebreakers. Let's go.
All right. So final score, I'm feeling 2-1 Juve.
Okay. Only 2 for Landucci ball. As Max Allegri has a flu, he will not be there. Danilo is out. De Sciglio has a flu. Danilo's not out. He's just being rested. So.
So, and the tiebreaker, I always like going with cards. I don't know why. So, like, first yellow card will come in the 25th minute, and I'm feeling it'll be Rabiot.
Okay. Last tiebreaker.
Goal scorer. Can I do that?
You can do whatever you want.
Okay.
You could do the daily special at the concession stand if you wanted to.
I'm thinking, so today we'll get a goal from Di Maria and goal from Fagioli.
Oh! Wow. Okay. Omer, you're up, buddy.
I think that's going to be a tough one. I'm torn between 1-0 Juve to 1-1, but I think it's going to be a draw eventually.
Omer going with 1-1 draw. Okay.
It's fair.
Yeah.
Frankie's got the guns back.
No, Frankie, no. I mean, it's an away game. They are a good home team. They are a good defensive team. We don't manage to score too much, although we did against them. It's a tough one, but Immobile plays, so that's actually advantage Juve. And
Yes.
sorry.
Okay, so 1-1 draw. Let's get the 2 tiebreakers in.
Okay, I'm calling Lucatelli assist.
Okay.
I go shout. That's a good shout.
Yeah, and a fight breaks out at the end of the match.
Come on.
That's
Again?
Seems to be a trend.
Trending over.
I like it.
Trending.
Yeah.
Fight
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
end. Oh my
WWE.
god. Okay. After this week and what I saw on social media in terms of the racism thing, like I want a nice, comfortable, clean victory and just walk away and be able to start focusing on Thursday there. Frankie, your prediction.
A good, clean, comfortable win against Lazio. There's no way. First of all, it doesn't matter. I'm speaking to you right now, Omar. It doesn't matter that it's an away game. We're going to win. We're going to win.
Look at the lashing. This is the lashing
Yeah.
he's giving you.
We're going to win 2-0 because we are going to counterattack them to death. That's the way we're going to win.
I wish
2-0.
you're right and I'm wrong.
Yeah, I know. We're going to win 2-0. Tiebreakers. Okay. I'm going to say Vlahovic is going to score.
Okay.
Man needs a goal.
The man needs to go probably from penalty, but I'll say it's going to be from open play. And I'll say Di Maria will get an assist.
Okay.
It's a fair shout.
That's perfect. And I'm going to go yellow card. I'll say first yellow card is going to be Gotti. Gotti's playing, right?
Yeah.
Should
Well,
be.
when he needs to
It's what
play,
it's looking
there's
like, yeah.
nobody else.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
projected lineup, for Juve is as follows. We've got. Hold on a sec here. Szczesny, Gatti, Bremer, Sandro, Quadrado, Fagioli, Locatelli, Rabiot, Kostic, Di Maria, and Vlahovic. All right, so that's what it's looking like. For me, I am going to go with...
Don't copy me.
Hey, put the
No,
gun
he
down.
copies me.
Pal,
No,
easy.
no,
You copy me, you can rest.
It was...
You always copy me.
I was going to go 2-0. Okay.
I knew it.
But if I would have gone ahead of you, then the difference is I wouldn't have blamed you.
It
But
doesn't matter.
you don't want
Don't
me to
bite,
go.
Frankie.
Juve is one of the only sides, as I mentioned, to score 3 on Lazio. Away game or not, this is going to be a demon slaying session because Vlahovic will score in open play today, everybody. Juventus will score 3 goals against Lazio, and Juventus will add their 100th victory in all competitions against Lazio today. My score line is 3-1 in this game. Juventus wins, okay? 3-1.
And
Vlahovic,
Sarri will
Conviction in
cry.
Al's voice. The absolute
Sarri
conviction.
will
He's willing
cry.
this.
Vlahovic scores open play, another tiebreaker, okay? And one of our goals will be a free kick. You will see a free kick goal today.
From who?
Oh, anyone. We have tons of
Yeah, tons.
takers. And
I actually think it will be
Tons. We have nobody.
Di
We
Maria.
got Vlahovic.
Di Maria more than likely crosses them when he takes them, but he does have shots every now and then, and I think Di Maria gets a free kick goal, but Vlahovic scores an open play.
Vlahovic gets. He's a good one with the free kicks.
Milik too.
I don't care who it is, but we're getting one. It's 3-1 Juve, okay? 3-1 Juve. Let's get we'll see what some predictions are in the chat here, okay? So we've got Jeremiah coming in here, and he's saying full time. Hey, look at that. 3-1. Di Maria,
Wow.
Rabiot, Kostic. 13 attempts, 5 on target. Man of the match, Adrian Rabiot. That Rabiot goal would win the kit from our own sweet Lou to buy him a jersey this year. So we're all waiting for that last Rabiot goal. He needs to win that kit. Will today
Let it
be
happen,
the day?
please.
Anthony Treboli coming in here, 3-1 Juve. 7 shots of Sarri chewing on that cigarette. Di Maria, Rabiot, Dusan goals. Love it. Remo coming in, 2-0 Juve. Milik and Rabiot, 15 attempts, 6 on target. Kostic and Fagioli with assists. And then we got, look at Omer, Frankie. Jotting
God.
stuff down with Sarri. Let's give him a lot to jot down today and get the job done. Matty Cuddy coming in here 2-2. Lazio equalizes in the last minutes. He's got the same feelings as Omar. But let's see what happens. Everybody, I'm actually excited for this game. I'm going to be back doing a watch along, okay? So a half hour before kickoff, I'm going to be here live again. We'll be able to, I'll be able to call the commentary for you, and I look forward to seeing you all there. Storm the barn. Get your Storm the Barn questions in here. Okay, we're going to kick things off with Jeremiah as we do have time. Would you like De Zerbi in charge of Juve next season? Would you sell Dusan in the summer? 80 million offer comes in. I'm all in for both. A yes for me. Joe, let's start with the first one. De Zerbi or moving on with Allegri next season if you had the option?
I would take the Zerbi. And would I sell Dusan? No.
80 million offer. Do you sell him?
No.
Okay. Omar, same two questions. De Zerbi or Max next season?
Yeah, the Zerbi is interesting. Might want to see how that works out. So yeah.
Okay.
And then no, I'm not selling Dushan for 80. Got to maximize profit.
Okay. Frankie, same two questions.
I would love to have the Serbi for next season, and I truly believe that Dusan will benefit from having the Serbi because Juventus will try to play a style in which they have the ball in the opponent's part of the field, which would benefit big Dusan Vlahovic. So for 80, no, at least 100 to try to convince me to sell Dusan. 80 million, I won't sell Dusan Vlahovic for 80 million. And just to the circle.
De Zerbi, I would love De Zerbi in charge of Juve, but I'm going to throw everybody for a loop here, and I know people are going to get upset with me and think, but if, like we said earlier, if the circumstances don't necessarily clean up around Juventus, maybe, just maybe, Max is still the right guy.
Agreed.
While all the turmoil continues. So
yeah, that's a given. I would agree with
that's
that.
a big item that changes it.
Agreed.
But would I like De Zerbi in charge? Absolutely. I would like De Zerbi.
I'll say this before we go to another question. We can question all we want tactically Max and his decision and the style he plays. As a leader of men, there's nobody else I would want as a leader of my team other than maybe Jurgen Klopp or somebody like that. But
Ancelotti.
Max Allegri is very high.
Ancelotti.
Very high.
Yeah.
I'd rather have Max than Ancelotti. As a leader of men.
Really?
As the leader of my team. I would rather have Max than Ancelotti.
Interesting. Strong words from Frankie. And he's the one with the gun, so we got to take it easy. 80 million for Dusan. I'm not even talking about that. Not even talking about that. But brings up an interesting follow-up question to this. If we're thinking about 80, is that fair value when you start looking at the numbers? I mean, man, it's been so long since he got an open play goal. Everybody knows the frustrations there. Will he still, this is the follow-up question, will he still gain that type of money, that type of interest that Juve would want to sell him, that we would want to sell, which is minimum 100 million? Is he even there anymore?
Yes.
Oh, I don't even care. I mean, we've seen players who've done a lot worse, sold for higher prices. It doesn't even matter the stats on the field. Mudryk was sold for 100 million. I mean, is he any better? Is he worth it? No. Depends on the team buying. Don't budge. He's young. He has his whole career ahead of him. You have statements you can make to up the price. If he was 30, that's maybe a different discussion. But right now,
I think the discussion needs to be aimed at how confident we feel we can get him rolling. Because if we don't, we risk that plummeting, and we paid a lot for him. That's a fair.
Bayern Munich at the end of the day would be the team to come in, just swoop in and be like, oh yeah, 60 million, and then we'll be like, oh yeah, right, okay, great. So like that would that's my worry. In all honesty, that is my worry, because I feel like we, like, especially if you look at the De Ligt situation, we barely just made our money back on that. So like that's my one major concern. And I feel like there's just so much talent that Dusan has that has just not been tapped into. So it's a very difficult situation.
as a pure striker, other than Haaland, and maybe now we have to say it, Osimhen, there's no bigger talent in the striker position as a young striker in Europe that Dusan Blahovic. That's why I'm confident. As a pure talent, I'm not talking about the numbers. I'm just saying as a talent, because I don't consider Mbappe a pure striker. He's more a winger kind of player. Uh, there's no young guy that is more talented than Dusan Blahovic. And I'll tell you, Arsenal would love to have a guy like Dusan Blahovic, and they have money. Chelsea would love to have a guy like Dusan Blahovic, and they have money. Manchester United are full of money, and they would love to have a guy like Dusan Blahovic. Real Madrid is a team that needs a striker, a young striker, and they would love to get a guy like Dusan Blahovic. Bayern Munich is a team that would love to get a guy like Dusan Blahovic. There are a lot of, even PSG would love to get a
So
guy like
Claudio's comment. Whoa! Claudio's comment here on. We used to laugh at Zaniolo value 40 mil because he had more reds than goals, and we won 100 for Vlahovic. I don't think it's like, obviously the comparisons are quite different and drastic in terms of those two players. But this is more about Juve not budging and not giving in. When we're watching players that these other teams are definitely overpaying for. So it's more not necessarily a statement to keep all things level, but I do believe it's not apples to apples if you want to make a comparison between Zaniolo and Vlahovic. And it's for a number of different reasons. Number one, the major one is the major injuries. Zaniolo, right alone there. That is what brings up a big risk for him, okay? The fact more reds than goals and whatnot, yes, obviously plays into it, performances and whatnot. Vlahovic is still more people than not doubting where he is, and the fact that he still performs for the national side and still scores consistently for the national side is what leads more people to believe that it is a Juventus problem and less than it is a Vlahovic problem. So we are not out of this world by wanting Juve to stick to their guns and want that top value. And to be honest, if you think Juve can afford to sell him for a very little capital gain, you're mistaken, grossly mistaken. Because if there were ever to be a move, we would have to capitalize and get top dollar. But I honestly hope, and I think we're all on the same page here, we all want Vlahovic to stay and thrive with Juve. Like, I hope more than anything that he does stay and that we can figure this out. Because for me, it isn't just a Dusan problem. It's a team problem. Like, your key guys have to be your key guys. Does he have individual struggles that we see throwing up through matches? Yes. But for me, this is where Max needs to kick into play. And Max needs to get it together, because obviously that is the whole point of a manager, of coaching, and not just Max, his staff. And it's a job of the team. It's a job of his teammates. How do we get this guy more integrated and firing? It is a Juventus problem. We don't need to drop the world on top of Dusan and say it is 100% him, because that is not the case. If that was the case, Milik and Keane would be destroying and lighting up the world, and they are not either. Okay, do they have better stats than Vlahovic? Yes, but they are not lighting the world up by say. So we still have an issue in getting the most out of the players we have in the attacking roles. And that hasn't changed with Chiesa getting in there. And to be honest, hasn't necessarily changed fully with Di Maria in there too. We still need way more out of our attacking roles. And that's the bottom line, really. Omer.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's sort of a win-win. I mean, if we can get 100 million plus, or the flip side of it is keep Dusan, no problem whatsoever. And we got to remember the great thing about football sometimes is that every season, it's like, when it's done, you get like a restart. every new season you get to, settle systems back to zero and start fresh. And look at Osimhen last season. Maybe one summer can, level Dushan back to square one and he can start off again. Maybe one player coming in can totally change the way he plays and someone who understands him better. I mean, everything can happen over the summer. That's the beautiful thing. A new season is a new start for everyone, and you have to prove yourself again from scratch every season. And so that's also a possibility that this season might be gone for Dushan and wouldn't be considered a good season for him. But the next one could easily be his best so far. No one can say that it won't. We can
Hmm.
assume, we can speculate, but no one can, for 100% say that it's not going to be good next season. And
Yeah.
that's a chance I'm willing to take with Dushan.
Yeah, I'm willing to take more chance. I think there's a lot that plays into this too. We're talking about there's a comment in the chat there about chemistry and the problem being the chemistry between players when it comes to national team and the club. But how can he have more chemistry with the national side that gets assembled periodically than the players that he trains with day in day out? And this is why I say this is much more a Juventus problem for me than it is an individual problem. And
Yeah, I mean, how
even
many
that,
times did you see him get a good chance recently? Like a good, clear
Hmm.
shot on goal off of one pass, and not him trying to run and make it to the end of some cross that it's very
Like the
rare. We don't see it.
like like the King chance, the goal that King scored in the of assist of Locatelli. How
Yeah.
many times does Vlahovic gets those kind of
I
chances?
see a couple things going on, okay? We do not commit enough forward in and around his area to help lift some of the double teams off of Vlahovic. That's clear as
Yeah.
day.
Yep.
Like he's
Yep.
so easy to isolate when you watch a team play against Juventus because nobody's near him. And even Di Maria, for all the praise of him being a world class player and whatnot, he is more often than not so far away from Vlahovic, and it makes it so easy for people to mark up on him and just rule him out. But even to Dushan, what I said last game still applies. If you're used as a pivot, he pivots, gives the ball out to the outside, he automatically leaves and runs away. He runs away from the flank and he goes to the center and tries to get to the spot. And I'm like, why not change it up? Why not send a midfielder forward into that role? Use Vlahovic, like use more players in terms of creating space, creating opportunities. Have Vlahovic play from further out to move into that and whatnot. Change the roles a bit, but we have to figure this out as a team. We can't just throw our arms up and say, "Oh yeah, no, he's just that's it. It's not working with him." Those that are saying right now Keane is better than Vlahovic, sure, but is it astronomically different? For me, it
No.
isn't.
No.
Mm-mm.
No.
Nope.
That's all I'm saying. There's got to be much, much more in our team in the final third. And this, for me, is a major factor for whether or not we continue with Max Allegri beyond. This is the last piece of the puzzle for Max because if you can't have your key guys being your key guys, that's a big problem for any manager. Do you guys agree? Like a manager
100%.
Yeah.
has to get the most out of your top guys. Has he done that?
Yeah,
Because one of the things that came out today on the reports, what was it? I saw Lou posted this on our news today, and it was about what Max could do in terms of talking about what he succeeded in. And usually it's thrown at Max, and it's, oh, players do not progress under Max Allegri and all this. So this season, the four that have essentially grown: Fagioli, Rabiot, Locatelli, and Gatti. He has those. He can also throw in there Miretti, who is apparently, they claim, Giovanni Albanese in this has launched. I don't know if I'm at the point of saying Miretti has launched, but he has definitely been integrated, okay? But I
no,
think in terms of Fagioli, Rabiot, Locatelli, and Gatti, you can definitely say there's been growth there. Has Danilo's growth also been attributed to Max?
no,
No, it was before.
no. Even, and I'll say this, even with the season with Pirlo, we started saying that Danilo was being our most consistent player. Even that season with Pirlo, if you remember right, we started saying, "Wow, Danilo is playing good.
Yeah.
He has
But he did give
even 10
him,
games, even 10
but it
games
did
into
make
the team."
something important. Giving him the armband was an important move by Allegri
Hmm.
instead
Yeah.
of
I
Quadrado
do,
or
yes, I
whoever.
do. But
Yep.
that's the thing. I'll always say this as a leader of men, as a leader, as a manager. There are not many
That
guys
I
better
agree.
than Allegri. There are
Yeah,
not
we've
many.
talked about it. We've talked about in the last podcast that no player has anything bad to say against him. When they interview him, they
No,
always saying how much he helped them grow. And I'm not surprised. I mean, that defensive and midfield players are the ones who improved under Allegri. I mean, that's Allegri's forte.
Hmm.
I'll
Solidity,
go.
defensibility. He's never been an attacking guy. He always had just world class players who can produce on their own. I didn't see any difference between Higuain and Mandzukic in terms of, instructions and stuff. They just go out there and do what you do best.
I'll go even further. I'll say this: I would love to see Juventus tell Allegri if willing to get a managerial role, a higher role in the management of Juventus, and bring another coach below him. That we I will be all up for it because I trust him to be a great manager in the sense that he managed people greatly. He is very good managing egos, being tough when he needs to, but being soft when he needs to also. He's great at that.
That's that's a good point. That's a good point. I have no problem with Max Allegri becoming the new, let's say, vice president of Juventus. Now, why am I
No
saying vice
problem.
president? Because that's what we
I know
heard
why.
Nedved was doing. Nedved
Yep.
was supposed to, interact and have the connection between the players and the management. To say that he did that to the fullest, I don't know. I haven't been there. But Max, because of his interaction with the players and the way he manages personalities and talents and stuff, yeah, I would say he would be perfect for that role, and I have no issues with it.
Fully agree. Like even I'll go as far as say, and everybody saying, give uh, Del Piero the Maldini role in Juventus. I'll have full confidence in Max doing the exact same role in Juventus because that's how much respect he has from management, higher management, throwing from the big guy Elcom to each and every player that he has coached. He has that respect. I truly would love to see him on a managerial role.
Okay, take it easy. You guys are going crazy now. You guys are going crazy.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah, we
don't
are.
don't make me don't
Take it
make,
easy here.
don't make
We're
me
talking
say
about players, and he's growing. Now all of a sudden, okay.
Yeah, now we're
I
talking
understand
managerial
how
roles.
strong you feel about him managing men, and I cannot disagree with his man management. I absolutely cannot, and I think that's been evident this season. Hanin brings up a great point here that he feels a lot of the players grew naturally because of the 15 points, the minus 15 points. I look at it a little bit differently. I think the team was not united until the negative 15 points because the start of the season was so poor, okay?
Yep.
And we were playing like individuals, and Max took a lot of heat for that too and whatnot, but nothing actually brought them closer together and actually had this team figure it out and get together until that retiro and then this 15 points and whatnot. And since then, they have actually bonded and realized, because this stems a lot more. There's a lot more. If you think that players are not in tune with the media and what is being said and what goes on and everything, you are grossly mistaken. Look no further to the situation this past week with the horrible incident that Lukaku faced and Fagioli's tweet being taken again for something that isn't necessarily right. And because what he's saying is these things all need to be treated equal. He is defending his friends, his teammates, who were called Zingaro, okay, walking across a curva. So to say that one, and this is my main problem, and this is what we all agreed on, myself, Omer, and Nimas, you cannot have 6 incidents go unpunished before another one does face punishment. You simply cannot pick and choose when it comes to racism. It is all absolutely disgusting. Okay? So that though, that moment, okay, all these moments you see in game, Danilo ready to take on the world, Quadrado in that derby, heated as hell, not backing down from Lukaku, all these scenarios, they don't happen at the start of the year. This team has come together. It is bonded and they are stronger. And arguably, the group itself is stronger because of all the scenarios put together. But does that take away anything from Max? And in my perspective, it doesn't. And he has more players playing much better than he has players struggling. But the unfortunate part is that it's our key guys and it's our offense that need to get firing. But overall, I don't think anybody can take anything away from Max.
I think it started in the retiro we had back in, I want to say, October, and then we went on like a good run. The World Cup, cut that out, and then came the Napoli defeat, and then came the verdict. So I think it started back in the Retiro because we started seeing those huddles before matches, and suddenly they were starting to perform, and Fagioli got integrated, and the team seems a lot more like a team. And the minus 15 penalty kicked it into overdrive, and I mean, they had a bit of a few bad games after it, but they wanted to prove they can do it. They understood there's still a long time for the season, tons of matches, and they can still get back. And that's an important point for today. I mean, today is a must win. Milan and Napoli dropped points. Roma are playing away to Torino, which is a tough match. It's not an easy one. Bologna plays Atalanta. That's a draw written all over it. It's a tough match for them too. And if we beat Lazio, I mean, that's a clean sweep on all, except for Napoli, on all the guys ahead of us. That's gaining points on all of them.
Guys,
This could be an important day for you.
Hanin said it. Us against the world. Amici di nessuno, baby. The AJC's been saying it for a long time. A long time. It's always been us against the world. If this past week didn't highlight it for you, I don't know what will. And that was my main point, and that was what I did not budge on with Nima whatsoever yesterday. I refused to budge on the fact that you can't have any club take a moral high ground against Juventus in this scenario because that is garbage. And I challenged him and I said, who else has gone out and banned people? And then and while people were saying, oh no, he was so pro Inter, whatnot, no, because he lambasted his fans, his curva, for that stupid letter about trying to tell Lukaku what he faced was fine against Cagliari there. He lambasted them for a weak statement after what happened to Lukaku. So no, but moral high grounds in this is absolute garbage. But it comes from this. It comes from the trend right now that it is cool to hate anything and everything with Juventus, and it's always been like that. Everybody. Okay? If you want to talk about other sports, look at the New York Yankees. Look at the New England Patriots when they went through that. It is cool to hate those that are up there. All right? And we are them in Italy. And we will always face that. Is it wrong? Yes. Is it garbage? Yes. But you know what? We need to use it as fuel. We need to use it as fuel. Like Hanin said, it's like we built this us against the world mentality. That needs to be our mentality. That is us. Fino alla fine, Forza Juventus. Period.
Always.
Amici di nessuno. Okay? That is us. That is us. Which 5 current players would you sell off in the summer? Taking Quadrado and Sandro. Oh, look at this guy. So Jeremiah is switching it up. He had just originally who'd you sell off in the summer, but threw in Quadrado and Sandro. Okay, so let's say we had to sell 5 players. Who do you sell? For me, Oh, you have to sell? Not even a loan, eh? So
Right.
I'll sell DeScilio and Rugani for whatever I can get. Those are two there. I sell Artur, and that's three. I sell. It's tough with Rabio, gone and whatnot because, like I said, unpopular opinion, I would keep Zakaria around, but probably
You
sell
can sell him anyway.
Zakaria. You probably have to sell one of the young guys, to be honest. Maybe you sell, but then it comes down to value. But I don't want to sell Miretti. I do not want to sell Sule. I do not want to sell Rovella. Maybe I sell Ranocchia. Maybe, but even he's got a lot. Man, he is really being talked about. So I don't know, but those guys for sure. I think it's time for sure. Guys, any names you want to add? Would you do it differently? Like,
I would
Ah,
go out of my way to sell Bonucci.
Yep.
that's one. That's one.
That was one I was thinking about as
there you
well.
go.
Yeah.
Unpopular opinion, maybe. I don't know. I would sell Chesney.
Oh,
Oh,
that's a
thank
good
God.
shout too. That's not
I
unpopular.
thought
He's
about
going
that
into
too.
last
I thought about
contract
that
year.
too.
We have Pedin locked in for two more. Yeah, that's a good shout. That's a good shout. So let's say Tech,
Definitely.
Benucci, those are two. Then where do we go?
Like you said, the Shiro Rugani
DeScilio's
easily.
got to be a sell,
Deschilio,
man. I'd even
No,
sell
Deschilio,
Rugani.
Rugani. That's
The
four.
Siglo,
But
my
if you're going to
favorite
move
thing,
Benucci, I would probably keep Rugani around, to be honest.
no,
I won't. You
I
can
would.
bring in the Winter. You can bring in Hoysen. You have options to fill the
Hoysen's
gaps.
17.
Yeah.
I'm not pulling him in. But Winter, you can. And then you still need a top guy, arguably. Because our goal is still to
Well,
get to back four.
yeah, depending on what we're going to play next year. But let's make it more interesting. We've chosen four. You have to sell one of the young guys.
You
And
have to.
take everything into consideration, the price tag. Because if you come to me and said we can sell the Winter for 40 million, I mean that type of deal could keep Dushan or Rabio at Juve. That's an interesting
Yeah.
one. So take everything into consideration. You have to sell one of the young guys that are at the club or out on loan. Who would it be? 4+1.
One of the hot commodities that I was seeing a lot of talk about, especially in terms of contract, was Ealing Jr. So
No,
that is,
I wouldn't.
No,
I
I wouldn't
wouldn't. I
sell.
would not. I don't want to sell
Yeah.
him. I do not want to sell him.
I,
But he
I
would
would say
be. He would
Sule.
probably has the highest value out of those young guys.
Arthur
Essentially
McKenny.
what
So
I'm
I'm not
saying.
considering McKenny because the latest news says that it's a done deal. Like it's already done. So I was thinking 5 on top of that. But Alexandro Caio Ore, yeah, you could sell Caio Ore. I mean, we don't even know what's
Ciao.
there, and that was a scary injury.
Frankie
Rugani,
doesn't like it.
Sandro, Artur.
I would say I would sell Sule before selling Ellen Jr. That's me. That's just me. I like more Ellen Jr. I think he's
get-
more vertical. I think he
I
can.
guess it's
I
which
think he
which
can
young
take-
guy would you rather sell, right? If it
That-
came down to that.
If you push me to sell one of the two, I sell Sule before I sell Ellen Jr.
Yeah,
I would sell
Sule is
Bernachea.
so incredibly talented, man. He's got to learn to hit that ball on the run. It kills
Yeah,
me. It
but
kills me.
but those left-footed wingers
I'd sell
that
Barenechea.
don't like to use that right
yeah.
foot.
Illing's left-footed.
Yeah, but
love-
you see him like he's more confident on his right foot than Schule for me, from what I've seen.
Yeah.
I just don't.
I would
don't
sell
see-
Barenechea easily.
For the right
Easily.
price. I like what I've seen from him too.
Yeah.
But if
So
the price was
Provella
right,
is coming back. If Provella is coming back, and we already have Lucatelli, I mean, how much minutes will he get? We haven't seen enough of him to say, yeah, he has to stay. I mean, he's a guaranteed future star. So if I had to choose out of everyone, yeah, he's the one.
But for what he has showed, yes. But
Yeah.
do we have a young player that is similar to him in the sense that he's as maybe he's good, but he's good defensively, and all the other young guys are not that good defensively. So that's why
So to
I'm
Rovella.
thinking twice.
But because of Rovella, that's the reason I would sell him.
Yeah, but
And he's
Rovella is good defensively. He's not bad, but he's not that good defensively neither. So that's why I
I
hear
think
you.
he
I
is.
know. I hear you.
I
I
think
hear
this
you.
is a whole separate show if we're going to talk about which young guys we
Yeah.
want to keep and which ones we want to sell. But
Yeah, for
hey,
real.
there's some in there that would say, yeah, I would get rid of Barnechea. I would get rid of Illing Jr. if a good come. Sule's 2 weeks. Sell him. I don't know. I see a lot. I see a lot of potential in both, but Sule, I think it could be crazy. I don't even think we've like. I barely think we've seen anything of what he's capable of, and all the guys. Mirko, Romeo, and stuff. When they watch these guys train, when they've seen the next gen and stuff like that, they're all like saying, Sule is he's so far above the next gen, and this is my thing with Miretti too, because he is also so like they're so far, they clearly stand out at the next gen, but that there's that gap. There's that gap from next gen to Juve that they might need these loans to help break through. Fagioli went on a loan to Cremonese in Serie B. He had a spectacular season. Spectacular season. Fought for himself to be integrated, and now he is. I don't look at loans. I look at loans as a problem if they're continuous. You know what we used to do? We used to send a player out,
Oh,
used
yeah.
to come back, oh, okay, back again, another year, another. Make a decision. That's when I have a problem, okay? But if we're doing it for 1 year for literal growth and then we're going to pull them back and look at them in the camps, then I'm okay with it.
I know who I'm selling. Marco Piazza. Sorry, I
Who?
just Marco Piazza.
Good luck selling him, man. That guy's forever alone. And speak of the devil, that guy, he's been on our payroll since 2016.
Yeah, you mentioned
26.
loans.
Think
And,
about that. Marco Piazza, 2016, everybody.
yeah,
That's
he
what I
came
don't
in
like.
with Dani Alves. He came in with Dani Alves. Because you mentioned the make a
Yeah.
decision, it suddenly dropped on me that
Make a
Piazza is still a Juve
decision.
player. So
Make a decision. Now, everybody, that is it. We've gone well into overtime here, okay? But that was great stuff. Always fun having the gang over and mixing it up with all of you. Frankie, got to see you way more often, brother. An absolute pleasure. Omar, as usual. Joe, fantastic stuff today, everybody. Great stuff. We're all pumped. We're all jacked up. Here's the predictions, the recap, okay? Myself, 3-1 for Juventus. Joe, 2-1 for Juve. Frankie, 2-0. Omar with the 1-1 draw today. And he's wearing the lucky beater, too. He's got the no sleeves lucky beater and
it's
still 1-1.
reverse
I don't know what's up
psychology.
with that, everybody,
Reverse
okay?
psychology.
We'll see. Reverse
Okay.
psychology. There you go. We'll see what happens. Everybody, do not forget, I am live today, okay, for the watch along, okay? So I will commentate on the action. I would love for as many of you as possible to come and join me while I commentate on the action. Thank you again. Live chat, you guys are fantastic. And what about Storm the Barn? We did Storm the Barn. We just did a bunch of them. What are you talking about? Storm the Barn? I'll do
maybe he
some
has a
more on the
question.
watch along, okay? And hey, take it easy. We got the post-match podcast tomorrow, Ramo. Lots of time. Lots of time for questions, okay? Everybody go do whatever it is, your ritual on game days, okay? I'll see you back here half hour before kickoff, and we're going to get pumped up for this one, okay? And then see if Juventus can keep things rolling, all right? As always, fino alla fine, forza Juve, ciao tutti.
Yeah.